So Japan with the baby was surprisingly easy. We went with our 10-month-old for 2 weeks. Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, Shinjuku. And the biggest surprise wasn't the trains or the flight. It was how easy Japan was with a baby. It is super baby friendly out there. So here's some tips I wish I knew pre-flight, during the trip, post-trip, plus what I'd do differently. Quick context, we're first-time parents, so we're traveling with about a 10-month-old, lots of trains, lots of walking, lots of figuring out Google Maps, and lots of translating. So let's start with pre-flight. Flights, how we booked and why. First, I booked about 3 months ahead using Google Flights and price tracking until I saw something I liked. We flew United, about $1,800 total for my wife and me. Our baby was free. We could have flown ANA or JAL for a nicer experience, probably, but with the baby, we prioritized the most straightforward route with the fewest layovers, because the easiest flight path is honestly the best flight path. And I booked direct through United instead of something like Expedia because if anything went wrong, I wanted one company to deal with. For context, our full travel day was about 18 hours, Vegas to San Francisco, a short layover, and then the long flight to Tokyo. And our plane got delayed 2 hours because of a malfunction while we were already on the plane, so we were committed. We also chose a flight that left late at night, our time, but landed during the day in Japan, so even with jet lag we could explore right away in theory. So when it comes to seats, bassinet, boarding, we did lap infant and we were eligible for the bassinet and got offered it, but we said no because not because it's not helpful, but we didn't want to take up a bassinet spot if another family needed it more. We also did family boarding, which is a win. Getting on early lets you settle in and not feel rushed. Quick baby flight tips that actually matter. Ear pressure. We just breastfed during takeoff and landing. That alone helped us a lot. And our reset when things got weird was simple. Just walk the aisle and breastfeeding. That was basically the whole strategy. For a few essentials that I would say that you must not check in, your passports, paperwork, and some cash and any medication, those stay with you. Always. Hotels. How we decided. This might be the hardest part because you're choosing between tiny but cheap, roomy but expensive, chaotic but convenient, or quiet but far. What we prioritized was room size and less hectic areas because traveling with the baby changes everything. And because we were there for 2 weeks, we stayed in multiple places based on what we wanted to do. For our route and why, Asakusa first because quiet, easier intro to Tokyo. We did a Disney hotel next, which is stay in a bubble and minimize the stress. And then a Universal hotel in Osaka, for convenience, and Shinjuku hotel at the end, which is shopping but more chaos. Some honest notes on the hotels. So Asakusa dorming in was a 10 out of 10. Roomy, good price, great location, and the nearby stations felt way less chaotic than Shinjuku or Tokyo Station. Tokyo Disneyland Hotel, overpriced, but we paid for a location. Honestly, it's quite a treat to be able to walk out of the entrance and see the park entrance 5 minutes away from the hotel entrance. Universal Port Hotel, also amazing, big room. Trade-off is Universal Station gets insanely busy morning and night, so you're essentially stuck in this little bubble. Shinjuku, Washington, cheapest and smallest, smaller than Japan small, but honestly, it gets tight fast with luggage and a crawling baby, but we made it work. Now, packing. This is where the internet becomes unhelpful. So here's what we actually did. We brought 2 giant check-in bags, but we packed about 3 days of clothes for my wife and me. Then we used backpacks for the real essentials, electronics, documents, and baby stuff. For Zane, we packed diapers, clothes, but we still pack light because Japan had baby supplies everywhere. Why I say that the internet was unhelpful with this, because you'll get advice from everyone that goes in every direction, and even my advice might be wrong, right? People are saying to pack a lot, people are saying not to pack, people are saying to pack a suitcase in a suitcase, whatever it is. I would say the rule of thumb is just pack the essentials, at least 3 days worth of clothes and whatever medications and documents, stuff like that. But other than that, more than likely, whatever you need, you can find in Japan. So the biggest baby decision we had was carrier versus stroller. Last big decision for us pre-flight. We fully committed to carrier only, and I'm glad we did. Japan has a lot of stairs, narrow sidewalks, and crowded restaurants. The carrier saved us. Although we probably could have used the stroller as, storage, but in the end, the carrier made it easy for me. Right before we fly, the last week, once flights and hotels are locked, you enter the final prep week. eSIM and Suica. We went eSIM. I used Ubigi Unlimited. It worked, but the feed felt hit or miss, especially on trains. My in-laws used Airlo and they were constantly posting and uploading on social media, which maybe next time we try that as another option. And don't forget about the Suica. We loaded about 10,000 yen into that and added it to our Apple Wallet. Super easy process, makes it very convenient once you land. Apps, forms, and booking reality. Make sure you download a translation app of some sort. We used Google Translate. Make sure you download a booking app. We used Klook, and make sure your Google Maps is ready if that's your map of choice. I suggest Google Maps over Apple Maps because Google Maps is a little bit more accurate and it gives you the exact stops and train stations to look for. Fill out your immigration forms ahead of time. Also, some things that you see online are booked months ahead. We couldn't do things like the Nintendo Museum or the Pokemon cafes because those were booked about 3 months in advance. Things like the Disney tickets were easy, but Universal Express Pass sold out, so make sure you keep track of what it is that you want to do, and if it's something that needs to be booked, you book it ahead of time. Underplan. So we pin places in Google Maps, but the biggest advice I can give is make sure you underplan. Japan is better when you wander. So that's pre-flight. Everything before the trip is theory. The second you land, it becomes logistics. So for the flight, we picked the most straightforward route possible, and we definitely overpacked toys and snacks. And honestly, we just accepted the chaos. There's only so much you can plan for on a long flight. And we got lucky because Zane slept a lot. And being in the back rows helped because we were near flight attendants and they loved him. And jet lag weirdly wasn't bad for him. I know we were prepared for this, but luckily things worked out for us. We landed around 6 p.m. He fell asleep around 10 p.m. and woke up 7 a.m. the next day. His normal is usually 7 p.m. to 7 to 9 a.m. So he stayed pretty close to what his normal routine is. We pre-booked a private car through Klook, and it was about the same price as 2 people on the subway. Pickup was easy, and in Japan, you technically don't need a car seat, but our car provided one anyway. We used a travel credit card and Apple Pay almost everywhere. Cash barely came up, mostly for street market stuff or gachapon, and when we needed cash, 7-Eleven ATMs had the best rates. We did multiple konbini runs a day. Egg sandos and onigiri became our default, and konbinis are also where you can find trash cans and bathrooms because public trash cans are weirdly rare. Make sure you bring a backpack or a bag for trash. Our diaper bag was simple. Diaper, wipes, cream, and a trash bag. That's it. With our baby, our rule was basically we won't wait any longer than 10 minutes. If one of us waited in line, the other distracted the baby. And if a place was too crowded, we just walk. Because the same food usually is 5 minutes away. Takashita Street is the perfect example of this. The main street is packed with a bunch of sushi options, but a few minutes away on another street, there's more sushi restaurants that are just as good, if not the same. So, getting around, Google Maps is your best friend. It will tell you the exact platform, exit, and walking route. There are elevators, but they can be harder to find and add time. And avoid rush hour. We hit a packed train once and it was stressful carrying a baby. It was very cold when we went. For Zane, what worked, mittens that were tight enough that he couldn't rip off, jacket with a hood, and long socks. We actually had to buy more socks and gloves, and finding his size was harder than I expected. And no hand warmers, but next time 100% I'm bringing them. Giselle got Uniqlo Heat Tech and she said she barely needed any additional layers. Once using that, she actually was sweating. But she was also breastfeeding, so that could probably factor into that. I survived by layering and mostly using Zane as a heat source because I was carrying him in the carrier. 3 things that Japan does that made traveling with a baby easier than home. Nursing stations and changing stations, especially in malls, are everywhere. The amount of nursing stations and changing stations that we saw, and especially the quality of them, was absolutely amazing. In Ginza, in one of the malls that we went to, the nursing station that we went to was just huge and made things so much more convenient and easier for us. Bathrooms are everywhere and they're clean. I'm not much of a public restroom user, but in Japan, that changed. Convenience stores are everywhere, which means snacks, drinks, diapers, and trash cans are always close. And I genuinely didn't see enough people talk about how big that is. So with the carrier, we wore him front facing almost always because he liked the view. Then for naps, we turned him inward and he'd pass out. The carrier was clutch in Japan. Stairs, narrow sidewalks, small restaurants, all of it. We got really lucky that Zane likes the carrier. He would fall asleep on my chest basically whenever we go somewhere. Oddly enough, when we went to Osaka Castle, which is about from our hotel and the train and everything, it took about 4 hours to get there. He fell asleep the entire time, so he didn't even get to see the castle. Disney with the babies mostly just shows, parades, meet and greets. We did a few rides, Small World, Beauty and the Beast, Tangled, but the best parts were honestly the characters and cast members. Japan loves babies. Zane was essentially a celebrity there. Also, the Disney Hotel had baby supplies on site, and the Mermaid Lagoon at DisneySea had great baby items too. When we arrived in Osaka, we got lost on the Osaka Loop. I was standing there staring at a sign in my phone with Zane in the carrier, and a lady came up and asked if we were lost, and walked us to the right exit. That kind of thing happens a lot. People are generally helpful. One of the best decisions we made was luggage strategy. Airport to Asakusa, private ride. Asakusa to Disney, a bigger family van once the parents joined. Disney Universal, we did luggage forwarding, and Osaka to Shinjuku, luggage forwarding again. Depending on the service, it's usually next day, so we packed the night before, dropped the luggage early, and kept enough clothes and baby stuff to survive until it arrived. So city by city parent notes, right? What worked, what we'd do differently in the baby tip. For Asakusa, it was the perfect landing. Worked, it was a quiet intro without being too hectic, plus bigger room and late night food. Things that we do differently, maybe stay longer and wander more. And for this, a baby tip, after 5 p.m. it gets quiet, so temple and shopping areas are way more calmer despite most of them being closed. For the Disney bubble, what worked was supplies on site and baby-friendly everything. Do differently, probably nothing major. And the baby tip we have for this is that there's baby items in the hotel shop and Mermaid Lagoon can save you. Osaka, Kyoto. What worked is that it's a quieter vibe and locals felt more open. Things that we do differently is probably fewer days next to Universal and more closer to Osaka City or more Kyoto time. A baby tip is taxis can be a sanity saver, especially around nap schedules. Shinjuku. What worked is that this is the end of trip, shopping spree for us. Things that we do differently, probably it's hectic with a baby, so we'd pick a more baby-friendly base next time. Post-trip. As we got closer to leaving, we went into full last-minute errands mode. We booked private transportation straight to the airport. Carrying multiple suitcases on train while you're low-key depressed or leaving is not the vibe. We got to Haneda about 4 hours early because the airport itself is worth it. And don't forget the secret Disney vending machine. Use up the rest of your Suica card or any yen at the airport too. There's vending machines at Konbini, and it's still Japan pricing. One thing that hit me, the airport staff wave and bow as the plane leaves. It's like an official send-off. The flight back wasn't super memorable, same as before. Survive, hope the baby sleeps, and try not to spiral. After 2 weeks of Japan food, airplane food tasted rough, and landing in San Francisco was instant culture shock. Escalators were broken, people were yelling, lines weren't organized, even the air felt different. It's been about a month and I still don't feel the same. Japan was honestly a life-changing trip, and we've traveled a lot, but Japan stayed interesting the whole time. What would we do differently next time? More Kyoto, try other cities beyond Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, different eSIM, weather-appropriate attire, more hotel breakfast. What I'd repeat 100%. Carrier only, luggage forwarding, Suica and Apple Cart, convenies, and the side street rule. Although the carrier only, we'll see what happens next time we take our son because he won't be small enough to fit in a carrier, so maybe that'll change. And I still wish I filmed more. I used the Nano and Pocket 3 to film, which made it easier while carrying a baby, but still you forget sometimes because you're just living it. The most stressful moment for me was the Osaka loop. That station had beef with me. If you're a parent thinking about Japan, this is your sign to do it. It's doable, it's easy, it's fun, it's gonna be a great memory. It's more baby friendly than you'd expect. Hopefully this video answered all your questions or any questions that you might have. If not, feel free to ask anything else. Let me know. Bye.